Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be covering the last part of my university series where I talk about my experience as an IB student applying to international universities in UK, in Canada, and in the US. Now, I've covered UK in the first video, I've covered Canada in the second video, and obviously I mentioned in the previous one that I'm going to be covering America last. And in this, I'm going to take a slightly different approach to how I discuss my experience. Rather than giving advice, I'm solely going to focus on my experience. And maybe you can have a few takeaways from my experience that may help you out as an IB and an international student, both personal and academic, and give you a good idea of what it really means to apply to these universities, what they may be looking for or may not be looking for, and just how my experience has really changed my perception on the whole university thing. Now, I'm going to get to why this is, and I'm going to explain everything in more detail later. Now, America was my first choice as a university destination when I was in grade 10. Now, I know a lot of you people, you may be in IB year 1 or IB year 2 or in grade 10, and you're just going to come into IB or you're in IB, and university is still a bit far away, but it's not that far that you can't think about it, right? So you start thinking about it. It's exciting. It's an exciting thought, and you think about destinations. And I was in this exact same position just a few years ago, or actually even a few months ago, and I considered America to be my first university destination, and my parents were also supportive of this fact. So I started doing research into universities, and I came across narrowed down a few universities that I really wanted to attend. And these universities were mostly really good universities, top rankings, they have good history, they have lots of Nobel laureates, many a lot of rich alumni, and not rich as in wealth, but the diversity of their alumni in different fields, different subjects. So these universities really appeal to me. And you can see a few over here. So this is Johns Hopkins University. It's one of the best in the world. This is UC Davis, which is part of the University of California system. This is UCLA, which is in Los Angeles. This is in Davis. This is UC Berkeley. This is UC San Diego. And this is Case Western Reserve University. So these were actually the 6 universities I applied to in the US. And I applied to Johns Hopkins as an early decision applicant. Now, what is an early decision applicant? If you are really, really intent on one specific university, like I was for Johns Hopkins, for that could be NYU or Harvard, maybe, or Yale. That depends, right? So a lot of these top Ivy League universities, they have something called early decision. Many others do as well. Early decision is your way. When you apply an early decision, it is your way of telling the school that I am really interested in going to your university. I want to be here. So naturally, the 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 belief is that in early decision, the people who apply as early decision have a slightly better chance of getting into the university as opposed to those who apply in the regular application. Now, what is the difference between early decision and regular application? The first and foremost difference is that early decision, as indicated by the name, has an earlier deadline. So if supposing the regular decision is on in January, the deadline for early decision will be sometime in November, and your results will usually come out by December. Now the deadline, it's all dependent on the university. So if you are looking to apply early decision for some universities, if you're really, really interested in one university and you want to apply early decision, you have to go and check out their websites and see what their deadlines is. What is the next difference? In early decision, if you're applying early decision to one university, and if you get in, that is an unconditional offer. You cannot take that offer back. If you have been given an early decision spot, you are confirmed going to that university. And of course, that is with an asterisk. That's if you maintain your academic record and they're satisfied with your grades and yada. So now there's so many other things that take into account. But the thing is that you can't pull back off from that offer. You can't say that no, I'm not going to be attending anymore. If you're given an early decision spot, you will have to take it. Naturally, that also means you cannot apply early decision to more than one university. That's it. Only one university. In fact, this is a very serious thing. They make you sign a agreement before you submit your application that you will not submit an early decision to any other university other than the one you're applying to. So Keep that in mind. Some universities don't have early decisions. For example, the UCs like UCLA, UC Berkeley, UC San Diego, they don't have early decision, to the best of my knowledge at least. So I applied to Johns Hopkins as an early decision candidate, and I applied to the rest as a regular decision candidate. And what or how do you apply to these universities? Now, the system is a bit different for some universities, but for the most part, for most universities in the US, you apply through something called Common App. Now, Common App is like the equivalent to UCAS. Now, if you've seen my UK video, I talk about UCAS, which is a system by which you make one application and you send that one application to different universities. It's the same application to different universities. But in UCAS, you have a limit of five. You can't send your application to more than five initial universities. However, in Common Application, there is no such thing. You can send your application to as many universities as you want, and but you have to pay the fees. You have to pay the application fees that come with it. It's usually about 70 or $80, and once you pay that, your application is sent to that university. So you use Common App to apply to universities, whether you're early decision, regular decision, whatever. However, some universities are not on Common Application, like the UCs. Now, the UCs are extremely popular. A lot of students go to the UCs. This is University of California. You can think of it like a chain of universities in California. They have universities in different cities in California. They have in Los Angeles, UCLA, in San Diego, in Berkeley, and in Davis. So I applied to all four of these, and naturally my top choice was UCLA because for my specific field, UCLA was the best, and next should be San Diego, then was Berkeley, and then was Davis. Now all of these are great universities, and I didn't really mind getting into any one of them. And I got into UC Davis, but I got rejected from the other three, which I wasn't really surprised about because these are really competitive universities. But I was a bit upset when I saw my result that I got rejected by the other three, but it is what it is. That's just how this process is. And I will get to why you shouldn't feel too bad if you do get rejected by these universities at the end. So the UCs have a completely different application. They do not accept applications through Common App. They have their own application, which is designed by the university itself. So you can use this one application to apply to all the UC universities, or you can choose which UC universities you want. There are 9 UC campuses, I believe, and you can use that one application to send your results to, or your application to all the different universities. And you have to pay an application fee for each individual university you select. So for example, I selected 4 UC universities, and each UC university application fee is $80. So in total, I paid $320, which is quite expensive, unlike the UK universities where you just pay £26 and your applications go to all 5 universities. That's another difference between the UK and the US. But anyways, um, what I have to warn you about is that these applications, both Common App and UC applications, are extremely long. They are very long. They're not like Canada or the UK. They are long. They require effort. It took me 3 weeks to complete both of these applications. And that is considered a short period of time, to be honest, because in the Common App, I'm going to talk about Common App and then I'll move on to the UCs. So in the Common App application, there's a lot of data to fill, right? A lot of data. There is personal life data. There's your parents. They even ask a lot of data about your parents, your education, your parents' education. You know, things about your family. It's a lot of different things, many different things, and you have to all fill it out. So start on that early. Don't make the mistake I did. I waited till the end, and that resulted in me losing a place from a lot of these universities because I rushed my application. Don't make that mistake, please. So start your applications early, fill out all the logistics, the data, and then you have something called a Common App essay. Now, the Common App essay is a major part of your application. That is how you tell the admissions officer about yourself and your personality. And unlike UK universities, where it's a lot of UK universities give admissions based on your statistics, your grades, your numbers. However, in American universities, they take a look at things a bit differently. They take a look at you holistically. They take a look at your grades. They take a look at your extracurriculars. They take a look at your personality, your life struggles, your story. They want to see everything. And that's a big distinction between the UK and the US. Now, whether you like that or not, that is up to you. But I personally prefer the UK system over the US system because I feel that the US system is a bit too arbitrary. The person who's reading your application will give a very subjective view about your story and your essay, unlike the UK university, right? Because numbers are a very reliable tell. They don't tell the whole story, but they are reliable and they can't be treated subjectively, right? If one examiner sees that my grade is, suppose I've scored a 45 out of 45, and another examiner has a student who has scored a 43 out of 45, and they have to decide whom to give the spot to, they would most probably lean towards me. However, in the American system, it's not all about the numbers. They have other factors that also play into your admission, and that's not to say that the UK or Canada system doesn't, but Americans or the American universities, from what I have heard, give equal weightage to all components of your application, and that's what I have been told in their seminars and things like that. Now, how true is that? I don't know, because I don't know what goes on in the admissions office, but that's just what I have heard. So they give an equal importance and weightage to different parts of your application. So work on all of that. Now, how you get admissions and how they decide which students to waitlist, which students to accept, or which students to reject, that is a big mystery to me, which is why I am telling you my experience. I'm not going to give you any advice because I myself am quite clueless about the system. I know people who have scored very poorly but have got into universities, whereas other people who have scored really well and applied to the same universities have been rejected. So I'm clueless. I really am clueless. I think a lot of things play into it. Your background, your race, your ethnicity. These are a lot of factors they take a look into as well because they want to create a diverse student body. You know, I personally think these things can be a little unfair on students, but that is just how the system is. There's a lot of politics, a lot of things other than academics that goes into your selection into the university. So just keep that in mind. And if you do get rejected, don't take it to heart, because remember, maybe there are things that are out of your control, things that you couldn't control, that contributed to you being rejected. So don't take it to heart. And that's what I was told by my parents and my friends when I got rejected from Johns Hopkins. And as I told you earlier, Johns Hopkins was my top choice university, and I got rejected from it in the early decision. And it really did hurt me, because that was my first university that I applied to. It was my first rejection. So we really got off at a bad start, and I was just really down. But just when you're applying, remember there are a lot of factors other than your academics and even your extracurriculars that play a role into you getting in or not. So now that we have covered that about your common application, let's get onto the UC system. Now, the UC system is a bit different. In the common app, I told you about the essay, right? The common app essay. Now, the common app essay, if I can remember, is about 600 words or 1,600 words. I can't exactly remember how many words the common app essay is, but it's not very long. They have given you a few prompts, about I think 7 or 8 prompts. And the prompts are basically very vague, very wide, generic questions, which you can build upon, right? And I think the question I chose to answer is, what is a strong belief of mine, how I have justified that belief, and how it has helped me become the person that I am. I think that was my common application question that I chose. And I chose to write about my belief in extraterrestrial life. I know it's totally out of the box, but I thought it was worth a shot. So I wrote about it. Now, whether it helped me or not, I do not know. So, like that, there are so many other different questions. I think every year the Common App prompts change slightly. So please go and check it out. Check out which prompts are there for your year, and start to really, you know, experiment with each prompt. Think, can you answer about this? Does this tie into some really important aspect of your life? Explain yourself. Give the admissions officer a glimpse of who you are, life defining moments that made you you. And if you don't have those, that's completely fine. I didn't have any myself. So write about your passions, write about your hobbies, write about the subject. Why do you love your subject? There are many different things. I have seen essays on websites of universities. So, for example, for Johns Hopkins University, when I was taking a look at some essays that worked for students and getting them into Johns Hopkins, I kid you not, there was one essay where the person literally wrote the recipe for fried rice. I am not joking. They wrote the recipe for fried rice and a few additional things, and they beautifully tied that into their personality and identity and culture. And that's it. That essay worked. So think out of the box, think different. Make it big, make it, bold. Do something that you think that the admission that will catch the admissions officer's eye. But that's not to say don't be fake. Sorry, don't be real. Be real. Don't try to be someone you're not. That's just my advice to you. So now that I've talked about the Common App essay, there's only one essay that the Common App requires you to have. Now, each university may require you to have a supplemental essay, which is why I said American university applications are long, really long. Johns Hopkins University, they had a supplemental essay. Supplemental essay is usually about the subject that you are applying for or some other information. It's not too long. The supplemental essay for Johns Hopkins was only 450 words, and for the university you're applying to, they may have a supplemental, they may not. And in Common App, it'll let you know if there is a supplemental essay that you have tried, so don't worry. Now let's talk about the UC system. So the UC system is similar to the Common App, but yet it is also different. In the UCs, it's the exact same story. It's very long. You have to fill up a lot of personal details, lots of logistics. So get that done. And as for the essays that you have to write, there are four, I think. They give you six questions. They give you a total of six questions, and you have to answer any four of them. That's what I remember. I remember answering four. So you have to answer four of the six questions that they have given you. I think it was eight, or I can't exactly remember. It's been a very long time since I applied. So go and check that out on the website. You can go and start your account even today, and you can get an idea of what the essays are. Now, in these questions, they're not very long. They're not like an essay. They are between an essay and a short answer question. So they're in the middle. Now, in these questions, remember, you have to remember to be very concise and to answer the question. Don't derail off the path. Don't go on to another tangent about answering something else. Answer the question very concisely, add in a few extra tidbits and bits about your life, and that should be good. So please answer the question. That's the advice that I was given by an admissions officer at the UC schools, to be concise and to answer the question. They say that many students forget to answer the question. They go off tangent. So don't do that. Now, my last and final piece of advice that I would leave you with before I go is that look for scholarships. Even if you think you can't get it, don't ignore it. You may be able to get it. You never know. So please look for scholarships. And I'll give you a hint of why. So now, I haven't talked about Case Western Reserve University. I applied to this university because a advisor at my school told me that it is a good university for my subject, for medicine, and that I should apply for it. So I decided to go ahead and apply for it. And I didn't know, but I got a $15,000 annual scholarship for 4 years. So that's a huge amount of money, $15,000, and I didn't expect to get it at all. However, I will of course not be going to the US, which I will get to next. But again, anything is possible. So please try it out. They have lots of scholarships for international students, tons of them. Now, why I chose UK over the US? First and foremost, obviously, I did not get into the top American universities like I would have liked to. I did not get into Johns Hopkins, which was my prime choice. So that was one downer, and one of the reasons why I decided against American universities. Now, the second reason is because of how far away it is. It's the exact same thing as I mentioned before in the Canada video. These universities are really far away, especially from my location where I am living. It is really far away. So I had to consider a lot of things before making a decision if I want to go here. And maybe you would have to do that as well if you are living at a distance from the US. The third reason would be the cost. American universities are very expensive. They are the most expensive out of the three countries that I mentioned, UK, Canada, and the US. US universities are the most expensive for international students. And I specify that for international students. For local students, Public colleges and even some private colleges are not very expensive, but for international students, America is the most expensive study destination. And that is backed by facts and figures and my own experience. I've seen the fees, I've compared it, and America is by far the most expensive. So that is another factor. And I just didn't think that paying that much money and going to a university in US which wasn't a top university or which didn't specialize in my subject, I didn't think it was worth it. So I much rather go to a university in the UK which is ranked really well, which is known really well for my subject. It just made more sense. Now that is my personal experience. For you it will differ. So take a lot of these things into consideration before you do make a decision about your university choice. Now, what about standardization tests? You must be worried about it because you probably heard about the SAT, the ACT, and all of that. Now, for my cohort, for my year group, the 2021 batch, SATs were either removed or they were optional. For the UCs, they were completely removed. For the other universities, they were optional. I had a decent SAT score, so I chose to submit it, but for you that may or may not be the case. And I'm not sure if SATs will be resumed for your cohort for the upcoming students, so please check that out and make sure you know what you're doing. If you need the SAT, if they are planning to switch back to the SAT route, you have to take the SAT. Without that you cannot apply SAT or ACT. Just choose that between that, and you have to write the test. That is it from me for this video. If you have questions about the American universities application process, the Canadian university application process, or for UK, please feel free to message me. I'll be more than happy to help you. Um, I realize that I have sort of missed out on the IB grades part about American universities. And I think I covered that briefly when I mentioned earlier that American universities don't only look at grades, they look at a variety of other factors. And in fact, unlike Canadian and UK universities, they don't even have a IB specific grade requirement on their websites. Most of their systems, the system that you use to apply to American universities, most of them are designed for American higher education systems. They aren't exactly IB friendly. It's a bit confusing. It is really confusing. That's why another reason why I chose against American universities. So just keep that in mind. Take a lot of advice from people who have applied to American universities and who have gotten your family, friends, maybe other people in your school. And that is it from me for this video. It's been a bit long, but I think that was necessary. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in another video with another topic or a question. Goodbye.